And what happens after they fall into the trap? Shi Qingxuan asked. Xilian and Hua Cheng already positioned themselves in the center of the human array. After that, just leave it to us. We'll be here inside this array to take care of them slowly, making sure not a single one is missed. All we need is time. The most important thing right now is to make sure they don't scatter. The reason why I said there might be danger is because there aren't enough of us to make 500 right now, so it's hard to say whether the circle will hold and whether the creatures inside could break out. Someone swallowed hard and asked, what would happen if they break out of the circle? It wouldn't be pretty, Xilian replied. First, the resentful spirits will possess you, then infect you with the plague. I'm just saying if someone lets go and runs away, what would happen then? If the circle is broken, then maybe the resentful spirits will also possess you, Xilian said. So the spirits will possess people either way. The smarter folks understood and said, it's different. The former is 10 out of 10, the spirits will possess you and infect you with the disease. The latter is maybe, meaning if you were to let go and run away, there might still be a chance for survival. That's it exactly, Xilian said. So is there anyone who wishes to leave now? After this formally begins, you absolutely cannot back out. But before we start, it won't matter who leaves. I hope no one will say anything to those who back out. This is a dangerous task after all. Those were the words that had to be said, otherwise they wouldn't be able to truly have those with courage and determination. A moment later, indeed a couple dozen people backed out one after the other, leaving hurriedly with their heads bowed, and the circle shrank a little again. Xilian sighed a breath of relief. Thank goodness. What's there to thank? Shi Qingxuan exclaimed. We've got fewer people now. Xilian smiled. There's plenty of people already. It's better than I had imagined. He had originally deliberated solemnly what should be done if half the numbers had left, but only a couple dozen did, so this was a welcome surprise. Just then, a voice suddenly came from the distance. Hold up! Do you know who these people are? You can't trust them so easily. Best watch out, or they just might trick you. Xilian looked back, and it was Heaven's Eye and company. Shi Qingxuan instantly groused. And who the heck are you people? Don't add to our troubles if you're not going to help. I promise none of them will harm a soul. Of course, that band of spiritual masters cared nothing for the words of a filthy and unkempt beggar. And who the heck are you? How many pennies do your words cost? When Shi Qingxuan heard others come after him like that, his anger rolled up, and he pointed at his own face. Huh? You talking money in front of me? I don't think you know who you're talking to. I bet you've all even prostrated before this. Having said so much, he cleared his throat and shrank back. The band of spiritual masters only thought that he couldn't keep bluffing anymore and backed off himself, so they stopped caring. They urged instead. None of you know what those two are planning to do. Be careful of losing your lives over a small bite to eat. Xilian was just about to explain that the beggars were there to help on the grounds of friendship and justice, and not just for a small bite to eat. But Hua Cheng spoke up languidly. That's not true. They're not there for a small bite to eat. They're here to save the world. Xilian was a little puzzled. Why would Hua Cheng say that? However, the other party started clicking their tongues. What? Saving the world? What kind of fuss are you kicking up so blindly? Just focusing on saving your own lives is good enough. Yeah, there's no need for beggars to join in on this. Go away and stop adding to the trouble. Hua Cheng responded lazily. Oh, So you mean to say beggars can't save the world? Is it because they don't have the ability to, or because they're not worthy? The moment these words came out, the beggars grew rowdy, extremely displeased. Heaven's Eye said angrily, "That's not what we said." Shi Qingxuan immediately poked his head out again and pointed at him. "Oi, oi, oi! That's not what I heard. Isn't that exactly what you meant by your words? And your tone was full of disdain too. Right, everyone?" "Yeah, what did you mean by that? How are we not worthy? We get a bite to eat, whether we came or not. Do you think we really only came for the food? Stop looking down on people." Xilian turned around to Hua Cheng, and Hua Cheng flicked his brows at him, as if he were saying, "Easy as pie." Xilian thought to himself, so that was it. Although there were plenty who remained behind, they weren't particularly determined. So when Heaven's Eye and company unintentionally showed their disdain, Hua Cheng made use of, "Filthy beggars like you have no use in such matters," and magnified it, exciting rebellion within the hearts of those beggars. "You don't think we can do it? Then we'll show you, no matter what, that we've got what it takes to." Thus, their battle spirit increased in waves. Both sides were yelling at each other, and Xilian turned to Heaven's Eye's party. "If you're really worried about this, then just stand by and watch. If we do actually do something that's harmful to others, it wouldn't be too late for you to stop us then." Next to him, Hua Cheng smiled and added, "But best if you don't get in the way." The band of spiritual masters had followed Xilian and Hua Cheng the entire way, and now that they finally couldn't hold back any longer, they were ready to jump out all brave. But it didn't take long before they were scared back by Hua Cheng's terrifying fake smile. Hua Cheng turned his head. "Gege, look at the sky." Xilian looked up together with him. Those black shadows in front of the round moon were now more clear, like they had quietly gotten closer. In the time that they were seeking helpers, who knew how long it had been, and those creatures were about to plunge. Xilian's heart lurched. Oh no, they were out of time to find more people. But he didn't show this on his face. He immediately cried, "Everyone in position, grab on tight." Shi Qingxuan was already standing at attention. "Your High, all sheer. We're only so many. Won't they break through us quickly?" This was the mortal realm after all. Random screams would cause misunderstandings and unnecessary trouble. Xilian replied, "I will guard here and check on you all constantly, and when a spot is about to be broken, I will go up to fix the array. This way, we'll be able to extend the time." So basically, fix non-stop any leaking holes that appeared. Shi Qingxuan replied, Well then, our lives are in your hands, including mine too, your High, all sheer. You gotta work hard, all right? Work very hard. I'm immortal right now." "All right, Old Feng, I'll give it my all." Everyone's palms were sweaty, and everyone's faces were tense. Right after everyone tightly clutched each other's hands, suddenly, above in the sky of the silent night, came a shrieking cry, and it came closer and closer, faster and faster. They'd come. Catching the right timing, Xilian instructed, "Everyone, blow air forward." The people didn't understand why, but they followed the direction. They each filled their cheeks and started blowing air with all their might. To have a large crowd puff out a round of hot, white air in the middle of a winter's night. While their breaths wouldn't go very far, the heated air, mixed with the aura of Yang, was very confounding. Plus, Hua Cheng had secretly cast a camouflage spell, blinding the creatures from seeing what was going on. Those resentful spirits that were originally going to scatter and go rogue sensed an area where it was particularly heavy with heat and the aura of the living, rippling and undulating, very lively. They very naturally believed that was the target for attack as they excitedly rushed over, forming a raging black pillar. In that instant, Shilian's entire vision was practically covered by blackness. He cried, "Everyone be careful not to loosen your hold. They've come into the cage." Right then, from behind Hua Cheng, thousands of silver butterflies emerged and spread. Haunting silver light illuminated, and the black fog before Shilian's eyes was instantly dispersed. He saw Hua Cheng extend a hand his way. "Gugu, come to my side." Shilian was slightly startled and immediately took his hand. Hua Cheng only tugged lightly before Shilian was pulled over. He wrapped a hand around his waist and composedly swept the area with his glare. Even though those resentful spirits were locked within the kiln for 2,000 years and had lost their minds from the imprisonment, they still didn't dare to go near, and within a meter radius of the two, there was not a single dark aura. Only then did the resentful spirits that had gleefully dropped into the circle notice that something was amiss. They had been tearing and chomping around, but how come they didn't tear into any of the living and were tearing into each other instead? There were also two they couldn't touch, and those silver butterflies were like sharp blades and showers of arrows to them, their wings flapping and assaulting, murdering them as their screams shot through the skies. The resentful spirits finally noticed they'd been trapped. They were like savage beasts locked in a fiery battle cage. But those 200-something people weren't players outside this iron cage. They were the iron bars of this cage themselves. Having noticed this, the resentful spirits were beyond outraged. They screeched violently and savagely at the beggars who were blocking them hand in hand, their mouths wide open as if they were going to devour their heads, their hair standing in fury, their faces and bodies miserably contorted and twisting. Some backed up a few steps from horror, but they were soon stopped by those next to them. "Don't move." Shilian also called out, "Don't move. They can't hurt you as long as the array is intact." Hearing this, the crowd was somewhat reassured. There were even beggars who spit wildly at the shrieking, resentful spirits, crying as they spat, "Pch, pch, pch. I'll dirty you. Dirty you. Get out of here." This was probably because they heard somewhere that ghosts were afraid of filthy things, and Shilian didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. "You don't need to do that either. They won't be scared." Just then, he suddenly noticed a spot in the human array was about to fall apart, a hole about to leak, and he hastily looked over. He saw a scrawny little beggar whose eyes were bulged and unfocused, his breathing harsh, like he was so nervous he was about to convulse. Many resentful spirits also noticed that this man's spirit was weakening, and they all swarmed toward him. Shilian rushed up and whipped, and those resentful spirits howled as they were whipped apart. Shilian rapidly made that man back out, ordering for the ones on his left and right to connect. Before he had the time to breathe in relief, about 6 meters away on the southwest, another new leak appeared. Just as Shilian was about to rush over, he discovered much further away another leak appeared, right from the person next to Shijing Xuan. The number of resentful spirits was immense, after all. This was only the first wave too. There would be many more after, coming non-stop. He wouldn't make it in time, and Shilian cried, "Sanlang!" However, Hua Cheng didn't move. "Gugu, don't worry." Shilian refused to believe that Hua Cheng didn't notice, and he refused to believe Hua Cheng would ignore things too. but that hole was going to be exploited by those resentful spirits. Right at the crucial moment, however, a yellow talisman came flying over and exploded right beside Shi Xuan. Although that talisman didn't blow up any resentful spirits, it still made them shrink back in alarm, their heads withdrawing. It turns out it was that band of spiritual masters who had been peeping all this time. They came rushing over, yelling, "I told you all not to get involved, but since you're involved now, then stand your ground to the end. If you can't, then you're just adding to the trouble." Hua Cheng turned to Tian. "See, I told you not to worry." "You would forever be at ease," Tian answered. Heaven's Eye and the other masters couldn't stand still in the end, and they came rushing up themselves. They certainly were professional martial artists, moving fast and agile, and they each grabbed two people's hands, separating them and bridging themselves in. Dozens and dozens of newcomers instantly assimilated into the circle, expanding the human array. Heaven's Eye called out, "Fellow colleagues, quick, quick, quick! Whoever has schools or disciples here in the capital, tell them to come quick. Go, go, go! I'll call my disciple over too." Soon after, over 100 people came barreling down the street. Those people sure were impressive, all of them monks, cultivators, and spellcasters. Each of them were decked in full gear, taking 2 steps as one, their forms heroic and refreshing. Tian cheered loudly in his head, while the beggars all stared with wide eyes and open mouths. When this new wave of people saw the extraordinary sight of a raging pillar of peculiar aura, they were all stunned, and soon after, they hastily joined in. Once they assimilated, the circle expanded even bigger. The entire main avenue of the royal capital was going to run out of room. And never mind the bravery of the newcomers. All of them were decked in all sorts of spiritual tools, no doubt able to greatly extend the time the array could hold. Having seen this, Tian was now at least 9 parts confident. He called out calmly with assurance, "Everyone, don't be afraid. The tables are turning. We've got more and more people on our side. So long as we hold the fort down firmly, destroying them will only be a matter of time." The crowd could also see that the situation was going in their favor. Now that there was hope in the mix, it made everything easier, and instantly all were filled with confidence. They responded enthusiastically. "Destroy them." On the other end, Heaven's Eye said, "We've got 168 people on our side. How many are you? How long do you think we can last?" On this end, the head of the beggars, Shi Xuan, also counted a number of times, and he answered loudly, "We've got 148 remaining here in the array." "Altogether, we've got 316 people," Tian said. "We just need to find—" However, Hua Cheng spoke up. "That's not right." Tian turned to him. "What's not right?" Hua Cheng's gaze returned to Tian, and he looked at him solemnly. "The count isn't right. Right now, there are 317 people here.